Hi friends, today we discuss another important topic in the international law, that is the sources of international law. So source is that where from international law has been originated, that is has been called as a source. To understand this, there are two kinds of sources are there. One is primary sources and second is the secondary sources. So from the primary source, there are certain matters which have been classified under the primary source. One is the international conventions or treaties. Number two is the international customs. Number three is the general principles of law recognized by the civilized states. Number four is decisions of the judicial or arbitral tribunals. Number fifth is juristic works. So these are the primary sources, and whereas the secondary sources means the decisions are determination of the organs of the international institutions. So basically, if we club together the primary and the secondary sources, we have six sources of international law is there. Then we come to know in detail regarding these sources. So number one is international conventions or treaties. So international conventions or treaties are those conventions which have been arrived by the state parties. The state parties, they come together and they have accepted certain principles, agreed certain principles. Such principles have been called as a international conventions. They have signed those principles. Even there is one article is there, Article 38 of the Statute of the International Court of Justice, which also recognizes the international conventions are the primary source of the international law. And there are number of conventions have been passed by or adopted or accepted by the international organs, like United Nations Charter is an international convention. The Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of 1960 is an international convention. Then there is a Vienna Convention on the Law of the Treaties of 1969. So like that, there are, after advent of the United Nations organizations, many conventions, innumerable conventions have been accepted by the parties, state parties. And such conventions have been called as the very active conventions in the acceptance of the sources. Then again, we can say that their treaties also been different kinds of treaties are there. One is the law-making treaties. The other one is the treaty contracts. So the treaties, once they have been accepted, that have making certain law, that is be called as a law-making treaties, because their state parties are accepting certain things, so they have to follow. That is a law that is accepted in between the parties. So those parties who have come together, they have to follow such convention. So that be called as a law-making treaties. So these are with regard to international conventions. And the second sources of international law, that is a international customs. So what is a custom? Custom is nothing but it is a long usage is called as a custom. In addition to that, a thing to be called as a custom, it should have certain characteristics. Number one is a long usage. Number two, it should not oppose to public policy. And number three, it should be in perpetuity. these and number 4 is that it is accepted by the states or governments. If these things are there, that be called as a custom. So customs are not made by us, and customs are prevalent in the world since time immemorial. When the custom has started, we don't know. What is the date of starting of the custom? We don't know. So the customs are there, and we are, our fathers, forefathers, like that, all those persons have been practicing this custom in perpetuity, in continuity. If that is there, that be called as as custom. Even in West Rand Central Gold Mining Company Limited versus R Rex 1905 2 KB, page number 291, right of passage over Indian territory case, Portugal versus India, ICJ reports 1960 at page number 6, and also in Paquete Havana 1900, page number 175. So in all those cases, the courts at a different point of time has stated that customs, international customs plays very important role in the sources of international law is concerned. Then the other source is another important source, that is the third important source, that is the general principles of law recognized by the civilized states. So the question comes that what are the general principles? There are certain principles are there that is very general. Every kind of society accepts those principles. No one will reject that principle. That we called as a general principle. Every society, we have different kinds of laws are there in the world. Common law, continental law, Islamic law. So different kinds of laws are there. But all the laws, there are certain principles are there that is a common. So such principles have also been considered as the general principles, like the res judicata, like res sub judice. Res judicata, as you know, it means that a court has decided a matter, then that binds upon the parties. That be called a res judicata. Then res sub judice, a court has taken into the matter for consideration, that be called as a res sub judice. So in a number of cases like R versus Kian 1876, United States versus Schooner, then in the case of diversion of water from Meuse 1937, Permanent Court of International Justice, series number A and B, and Corjo factory indemnity case in 1938. Then like that, in number of cases, the courts have been opined that the international courts have been opined that the general principles plays very important role for getting the principles of international law. Then the fourth source of international law is concerned, that is the decisions of the judicial and the arbitral tribunals. So judicial tribunals and arbitral tribunals, they play very active role in the giving of delivering of the judgments, and whatever judgments they deliver the judgments by taking into consideration of the laws of the land. So such decisions also been act as a source of international law. Then number fifth source is the juristic works. So juristic persons, there are number of jurists are there in the world from different angles, from international purview, then national purview. So everywhere they are writing number of articles, number of opinions. So such opinions and articles, what they express, that also becomes a part of the source of law in international law is concerned. Then we have the sixth source, that is the decisions or determinations of the organs of the international institutions. As just earlier I told you, that is not a primary source, but it is a secondary source. When there is no primary sources are there, then we go for the secondary sources. So in this also, the as you know, after advent of the International Organization, number of agencies have come out. WHO, before to that it is called as the World Sanitary Organization, ILO, International Labour Organization, UNICEF, UNESCO. So the number of, in every sphere, there are a number of international institutions have been there. So they are also making certain decisions regarding certain matters, matters pertaining to their domain. So whatever matters, whatever decisions, whatever determinations they are making, that also have been accepted as the principles of the international law. In addition to that, we have some more principles are there. That is the number one is International Committee. So committee, you know, we all nations exist together, and we are accepting, we are following certain aspects. Then whatever treatment I extend to you, the same sort of treatment I expect from you. So that be a practice. So that also been called as a secondary source of international law, and that be called as a international committee. Then we have the state papers. Every state government prepares certain papers, like how our policy should be there with regard to certain issues, some international issues. Suppose there is a problem is there with regard to Palestine. The government of India made a policy, state policy. So that is called as a state paper. So that also been accepted as the sources of international law. Then another secondary source is that the state guidance to their officers. Every state has its own diplomatic foreign affairs officials working for that country in international sphere. And for the working also, state is providing certain guidelines that you should follow this and you should not follow this. Such guidelines also have been called as the sources for the international law under the secondary sources. Then we have the reason. Other source is the reason. So reason is nothing but it is a kind of a thing which has been, if you want to do certain, there should be a reason. So some circumstances, that also becomes a source of international law, as pointed out by the Pollock, which I quote here, that the law of nations is founded on justice, equity, convenience, and the reasons of the thing, and the confounded by the long usage. That is the words of the famous jurist Pollock. Then the other source is that equity and justice. If there is no law is available, then what to do? Certain aspect has come out that we are not having any law for guiding us or providing relief to us, then the courts may apply the equity and justice principles. So that also been act as a kind of sources of international law. And in Barcelona traction case, very long back, the decision was made basing upon this principle of equity and justice. And North Sea continental shelf case, there also, and also, so there this principle of equity and justice has been applied. So in addition to that, but basically what is the order of these sources means, every international law, this order is a compulsory that first, if there is a convention is there, then all state parties have to follow the convention that binds. And the second, if there is no convention is there, then we go for the custom. If there is no customs are there, then we go for general principles of law recognized by civilized states. And there is no such thing is there, then lastly, ultimately, we go for the judicial decisions and juristic opinions are subsidiary means for the determination of the rules of international law. So these are some of the aspects with regard to sources of international law, and by this I am concluding my lecture. Thank you.